We will be building famous snake and apple game using Python and pygame module in this Python project series. As a prerequisite, all you need to know is basic Python. If you don't know that, you can follow my first 16 tutorials in my Python playlist, and these tutorials are something you can finish maybe in 2 or 3 days. And by the way, this game can be built by a student who is learning in a fifth grade. This is damn easy, so anyone can do it. I am going to simplify a lot of concepts, and this will be multiple video series. So we'll go over step by step on different pygame concepts, and we'll build a complete game. So you're not only learning pygame, but you're also learning how to build a complete end-to-end project in Python. In the end, I also have an exercise for you to work on, so you can use the knowledge that you learn in these videos, and then you can customize the game as part of that exercise, and I have the solution as well. So this will be not just you're just watching a video, it will be interactive learning, so it will be very useful. Let's first talk about the things that you need to install. Very first thing is obvious, Python installation. You need to have Python installed on your computer. Then you need to install a pygame module, which you can do it by running pip install pygame. I already have it installed, so that's why it's showing this, but you need to run this step. And I use PyCharm community editor. You can just Google PyCharm community, download it. If you like using VS Code, that's okay too. I went ahead and created this snake underscore game directory to store my code. So you just go ahead, create some directory, and then open that directory in PyCharm by going to file open. So when I did this, it was showing me this thing. Now in this directory, I have already put some useful things. So first you need main.py. So main.py is the main file. It is empty right now. I also have resources folder, which will have different resources that we will need for our project. For example, it has an image of an apple, some background, some block image and all that. Okay, you can download all this code by looking at the code link in the video description below. Here, our first objective is to write the first program which uses pygame, and it draws a simple game window. Okay, so at the end of this session, all you're getting is a simple pygame window with some background. So let's let me just close this and go into Zen mode. So PyCharm has this nice feature called enter Zen mode, where you can have a full screen experience. Okay, so here I will say import pygame. I'll make it a little bigger, control scroll. And then I always use if underscore underscore name is equal to underscore underscore main. This is the main routine in Python, okay? And in this routine, what we're going to do is initiate the pygame dot init. So let's look at the pygame documentation, by the way. So if you look at pygame documentation here, you can go to the pygame website, look at all the tutorials and kind of explore it. But in this tutorial, whenever you're using pygame, you have to use this .init method. It will kind of initialize that whole module, okay? And once you have that, next thing will be creating a surface. So what is surface? So you will say pygame dot display dot set mode, okay? So what is set mode? So let's look at the documentation. So pygame set mode. Generally I Google it, okay? And when you Google it, you can directly go to that. So here you are saying set mode. So set mode is initializing your game window. This is the very basic step that you have to do in all pygame program. And say the first argument is the size of the window. How big is your window size? Okay. So I will say my window size is maybe what, 500 by 500. This is like 500 by 500 pixel. Okay. And you can now say that, uh, so let's just maybe run this program and see what happens. See, window came and it disappeared because the program finished. So I will just maybe put some timer so that you can at least see, I will put a timer for 5 seconds so you at least see what's going on. So, okay, my window unfortunately came in a different screen actually. Yeah. See, you get this window 500 by 500. If you have 1000, you will get a bigger window. See? So that's what this is doing. Now the window background is black. I want to change it. Okay, so you will say surface dot fill. So this fill function will fill the background with some color. Now any color is RGB. So red, green, blue. And these colors have values from 0 to 255. So if you want white color, you will say like 255 three times. See, this did not work because whenever you update your surface, you have to say pygame dot display dot either update or flip. So flip is saying that whatever code you have written here, you are just you're just updating your screen with it. So you say Control F5. Now your screen is white. Okay. If you're not sure about which color you want to pick up, not no RGB values, so then you can do RGB color picker. So the Google has RGB color picker, so you can decide your color. Okay, which color do you want? Maybe I want this color as a background. What is RGB? 92, 25, 84. You put that here and say you get this color. So getting that color is not a big deal. So I'm just going to use some color. You can use a different color, up to you. Okay. All right. So now your window is set. Next thing I want to do is, see, I had to use timer, which is something I don't like. I want to do something where the window stays, and when I hit escape or cancel, then only window disappears. So I'm going to remove this sleep statement. So how do you do that? So in any UI application, you have a thing called event loop. Event loop is waiting for the user input. When you're working on any screen, it is waiting for mouse input or keyboard input. So you have to run that event loop. Event loop is fundamental to any UI programming. Doesn't matter pygame. Any UI you take, you need to have an event loop. An event loop will be something like, it's a while loop. So you will say, okay, running is false, or maybe running is true actually. So running is true, and while running, do something. So now see, this is an infinite loop. We need to exit it somewhere, right? But the fundamentals of UI programming is you are running this infinite loop, but on certain keystrokes, such as if you hit a cancel or escape, you want to exit your game. So how do you do that? Well, Pygame has this thing called event. So pygame.event.get. So for event in pygame.event.get, do something. So what is this? Well, this will give you all the keyboard, mouse, all kind of events. Okay, and you can read the documentation online. But these events will have types. So if event.type is equal to what? For that, I need to import certain locals. So I will say import pygame dot locals from, I will just do this, import star. So this is going to import certain global variables which will be useful to us, such as key down. See, this key down, this one came from this. Okay, so if you want to read more about it, you can just say pygame locals, and that will tell you all the locals, right? So event, so for event you will have different locals and so on. See, for event, these are the events, right? So key down is something we use. There is another event called quit, which will be called when you hit the cancel window. So I will say, okay, if event.type is key down, then do something. If event.type is equal to quit, okay, then okay, so if user clicks on cancel, what do you want to do? Well, you just set your running variable to false. You might have read about while loop before, or if you have followed my Python tutorials, you know about while loop. While loop is like it goes in iteration until this condition is true. So running is true all the time, except when we have a quit event. Okay, so let's try this. So quit event is generated when you click on cancel. See, now your program exited. Otherwise your that window will not exit. Okay, also let's say I want to quit when I hit escape key. So you can say if event dot key is equal to escape, then also running is false. So when I run it now and say I'm not using mouse, I'm hitting escape key and my program exited. Okay, so this understanding of this whole event loop in pygame is very essential, and it will be useful when you're doing UI programming with any language, any framework. All right, so far it is looking good. Now the next step, I have some reference content here so that I can do my videos properly. So the next thing I want to do is I want to draw a block. Okay, so that block you saw here, so I have this block here. So this image I want to just draw on my screen somewhere. All right, so how do you do that? Well, for that you need to load that image, and the way you load that image is by doing this. So pygame has this image module. You can just say load and resources block.image and dot convert. This is a method of loading the image, and once you have the image in this block variable, you can see, let's look at load documentation. See, this is the load documentation. Okay, and block you can paint on a surface. So your background screen is this surface. So you will say surface, you know, surface is your background, your main window. On that, if you want to draw a block, so for that there is a function called blit. So this blit function is nothing but draw this image. And what do you want to draw? Well, block. Where do you want to draw? These are the dimensions. So maybe 100. You see 100 is drawing here. If you do 0 0, this is x and y. So if you do 0 0, it will draw at the very left. So this is x and y. Okay, so I will just assign some variable for the dimension. So I will say block x is 100, let's say, and block y is also 100. Okay, and then block X, block Y. All right. Now, next thing I want to do is I want to move this block. Okay. So when I move this block using my maybe key, like one of the common things in any game is using the up, down, left, right keys. Okay. When I press those keys, I want to move the block around. So how do I do that? Well, first let me write a function which draws this block. So I'm going to write a Python function which is drawing the block. Okay. So it's the same code. See this code, I have just put it in a function. So I put 1, 2, and 3. These 3 lines into a function. So when I call that function, it will just draw a block. So now how do I move that block? All right, so let's think about that. So here we are getting these events, right? So if event dot key is equal to, let's say, up. See, when you press up key, what you're doing is your block is at a position X. Okay. So let me just draw it so that you understand. So when you are, let's say this is your screen. Okay. On this screen, you have a block. So this is your block, and block is at the position X comma Y. So it's a coordinate system, X and Y. Okay. So let's say this X is 100 right now. So X is 100 and Y is also 100. Okay. So when you move up key, the X remains same, but you're changing your Y. Your Y is 100 and now you are moving it up. So maybe you're changing it by some amount. When you move it down, again, you're changing Y. But when you move this block, see, when you have this block and when you move it like this, your X remains same because X is this, but your Y remains same, but your X will change. So see, your Y, so this Y is this axis, okay? And this X is this particular axis. You might have learned about basic coordinate system in your mathematics class. So it is this X. So when you have left and right movement, you are playing with X. Up and down movement, you're playing with Y. So when your key is up, what I want to do is whatever Y I have, maybe I want to subtract 10 from Y. This is same as doing this. Okay. They both are same. And when you have, let's say, down, you want to increment Y by 10. And if you have, let's say, left, when you press on a left key, you want to update your X actually. And if your event key is this is all probably very easy to understand. You're just changing your coordinate. Now, when you're having up key, you're not changing your X because X remains the same. And when that happens, you are just after changing your coordinate, you are calling draw block function because draw block needs to draw it. Now let's look at draw block function. So in draw block function, by the way, when you're moving draw your block up and down, uh, let me comment this line. I'll tell you why that line is needed. Let's first do it without that line. So you're operating block X and Y, and using that, you are drawing that block again. And you have to call this flip method. Otherwise, it will not show you what you've done, right? You can also call update method. Okay, so I'm just calling. There is some minor difference, you can read about that online. So if I do Control F5, now see, when I'm pressing right key, it's moving right, and when I'm pressing down key, it's moving down and then moving left. But the previous block are still there. I don't want those blocks. When I move the blocks should just move. And for that reason, you need this line. So before drawing the block, you are clearing your screen. So when you have this line, now see, you do up, left, right, whatever, and block moves smoothly. So Congress, you have a very first basic Pygame program working for you. You did an awesome job. When I'm teaching you on video tutorials, make sure you have your code editor open and you do coding along with me, because that will give you effective learning. In the next session, we'll continue with this, but in this session, I have only this much. You just build a screen and a block which can move around. All right.